Morning, mate.
Hey, bud.
How you doing? All right?
Hey,
Sorry I'm a bit
yeah,
late.
going okay. Look, there's
Yeah?
5 to 8, you said, right? We say 5 to 8, don't be late.
Five
You're
to eight,
okay.
yep. Just about, yeah.
He's just made it. We are live and free on YouTube, so welcome to those of you who have managed to join us today. I don't know what to say except more of the same, maybe. Don't know. How deep is this going to go? How long will this last? All questions that really are on everyone's mind, I'm sure, at the moment. Can't answer.
No, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, we had, I've got a bit of a opinion. I was going to say a feeling, but it's more than a feeling that we're going to get some sort of bottom here. I have got a speculative long in the market.
I'm thinking bounce. So I'm on that page. I'm
Yes.
on the page of reversed that yet though.
Yeah, I agree totally. And I suppose this is what I'm really talking about. I mean, we've had a few bounces that really haven't really resulted in anything. But I'm just wondering whether we might get something a bit more significant at this level. The market is definitely struggling, and the reason it's struggling is because it doesn't really seem like there's any kind of financial stimulus package that is going to cheer everybody up. But we've come down a long way, and we are at another significant point here. And it gets to the point where you start going, well, it will bounce eventually, and and it will be a significant bounce eventually. We just don't know when it's going to be. I mean, I still really like the. I'll show you my chart quickly. I know
mate, hang on, I'll just stop the stream, and I'll disappear for a minute, but I'll be back.
Oh, you might not. You might not.
Oh.
Yeah, you have. Okay. He'll be back. Okay, so this is what we've got. I mean, there's every chance we could hit some further lows down here, and it wouldn't be that shocking if we did, to be fair. But there's just a few signs and signals down here that we might be having an attempt at a bottom, and I still quite like this. I mean, this is a long way off. It's still 650 pips to the upside, and I was thinking, I am in a trade down here. And I'll manage the trade. I'm going to leave it on. I'm going to leave the long in the market. If it starts to come down, I'll just hedge against it, probably against something else, maybe some steel or engineering company might be a decent hedge against the movement, against the FTSE. So I might take that on board. But what I was thinking is that maybe we get a really good reaction from this point if we get through, but yeah, the market is very tenuous, and I think that the best we can hope for here is that we might be on ahead, and if that's the case, we are likely to come back and create some sort of shoulder anyway. So maybe this is a left shoulder here. Maybe that's a point there. I mean, the one thing about entering here, I suppose, is if this is accurate and it does become an area where there is a head, then the right shoulder shouldn't come down as far. So if we start to get up, through this area, come back, test this trend line, and then maybe we can at least try and get back to the area where the weekly pivot currently is. It won't be there by the time this starts to form, but maybe that's what happens. I don't know. Maybe we just go straight to the downside this morning, and all bets are off. But I quite like this, and it's just about getting through this area, because if it gets through this area, then I suspect the weekly pivot price point will be the right time to try and buy into this. As we go this morning, we are at a sell zone, a very low but evident sell zone down here. And I'll show you what I mean when we look at this on the with the trend lines. We've got this trend line that has now been broken down. So this does become a sell zone. So that there's every chance, as I said before, that we actually crash down from this level and we continue to sell off. But let's see what happens. If it can get above that area, then it's every chance that that this area actually becomes the eventual buy zone. If it pops up, closes around about, or pops and touches the daily pivot, comes back and manages to survive this area again, then we should be starting to create something of a of a bottom down here, which, as Jeff says, and I completely agree with, probably is just a bounce, a dead cat bounce, if you like. Speculators, finding out, and this is the thing, this is what's likely to happen down here. There will be some speculation of whether we are actually finding the low. So as those speculators come into play, they're going to be testing this area. And the way they test it is they'll buy up into this area potentially. This is the way they'll do it, whichever, it might not be here, it might be lower. But eventually they'll start buying up into an area. And as the area goes up and gets rejected, they'll just start to look to see how deep that rejection is. And if the rejection becomes less and less prevalent, then they'll start to then put more money at work. Now let's just double check.
And these are the higher lows that we talk about often. That's what we're looking for.
Yes, exactly. Oh gosh, the
hi PL, hi John, hi Helen.
The FTSE 100 has opened up grim, pretty grim, with just about every stock in the index opening lower. Ocado continues to surge to the upside. We got Ocado, maybe a surge is the wrong word. Ocado continues to make fresh highs though, from the area. We got Antofagasta, which is a mining stock. Carnival, interesting stock as well, because Carnival is a company that really kind of operates most of their business in the north of America. And what is it about Carnival? Let me just double check exactly what it is about them. Yeah, they're a cruise company. So interesting, really, that they're actually doing okay right now out of the first opening. I'm not sure how long that's going to last. But they've opened up just about flat. BHP Group as well. So some of the mining stocks actually not doing too badly so far this morning. Even Fresnillo, which is slightly lower, is still okay. Certainly the banking sector is still getting absolutely obliterated. Barclays down another 4% already this morning. So the signs and signals out there aren't for a run to the upside. Certainly early doors, so we might be looking at some another drive to this low down here before we actually get an area that's going to give us a genuine bounce zone. But I'm going to watch out for this, mate, because as I say, if it can close above here and get back to the daily pivot, coming back will be the interesting thing. If we get some sort of reversal bar right here, it will suggest that we're coming straight down anyway. But so far, it's just managing to behave itself, and the follow through. We got some decent upside yesterday. We've got a gap down over the Asian session, and that's what's driven us lower. But I wonder whether there still will be some follow through from some stimulus. I'm not going to talk for any longer, mate, because I know we need to get to the pound trade.
Yeah, another winner yesterday on the pound.
Oh, amazing. All right, we'll talk about numbers in a moment. Actually,
to be fair, it's not that hard. If you're a trend trader, if you're not winning on pound US dollar, there's something really drastically wrong.
Oh, really? So it's a good environment for that trade.
Well,
is it?
It's just trending amazingly. It's bouncing off exactly where you'd expect it to bounce off.
Right, so, brilliant.
I mean,
brilliant.
As you know, neither you or I are trend traders, but yeah, you'd have to be executing very poorly if you're not making money out of the pound at the moment.
Oh, brilliant. Well, that's good to know. Well, okay, well, let's get to that then. Important that we get to the pound trade. I've just passed you the screen.
Roger Dodger. Okay, let me see if I can do something about that. Every now and then, the control panel disappears, and this is such a time. So here I am floundering without.
Oh, have you got full screen on?
Have I?
Are you looking at full screen? When you were looking at my chart, were you looking at it in full screen?
Maybe.
If you exit full screen, then you'll find. That's what
To
I
do that,
usually
I
do.
need a control panel. That's the problem.
Good point. So even when you you hover over the icon,
It's coming back.
there you go.
End meeting. Right. I'll press that one and I'll go and have a beer. All right. So I think we got it. By George, I think we've got it. Rightio. We want to be on the pound, right? So those of you who are joining for the first time, and I see there are some fresh faces in the room, welcome to you guys. Thanks for being here. Helen, you still got high. I see you still got double trouble there. I don't know what's going on there. Everyone else seems to be okay. Let's place this this order in the market, and I'll explain to those of you who've just joined us for the first time what we're doing here. This is a beta test mode of a UK session breakout trade on pound US dollar. Now, look, as I continue to say to everybody, this particular sequence, yep, is not new. It's as old as I am, and I'm 63 years. Oh, did I just give my age away? I'm 63 years old, and 63 years young actually. And there are various methods of trading it. We beta tested one before the end of the year and up to just about the second week of February, I think. We finished up positive on that, but I was a little bit disappointed. We started out with about a 15% over 3 months win percentage, but it deteriorated through January and early February. Don't know whether that's just the time of year or what, but haven't been back through all of that data to sort out why. Anyway, this one's going quite okay at the moment. I think we've traded 4 out of 5 winners. So let's continue with this vein. That's in the last couple of weeks. What we're doing is we're taking the range of the last 3 1-hour candles prior to London session. So in this case, that would be this candle, and this candle. And we take the high and put a long order 15 pips above the high. And we put our stop loss 10 pips below the low of the range. Don't forget those 3 candles. There's the low, there's the high. And we do vice versa. We put a short entry 10 pips below the low of the range and our stop loss 15 pips above the high of the range. So effectively our stop loss for the short is our entry for the long, and our stop loss for the long is our entry for the short. So let's place those trades. We better go short first. And if you are following these, then I suggest you trade this at very, 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 very low risk, because as I say, we're in beta test mode and we're not endorsing this as a trading strategy at this point. That's our aim, of course, is to actually get this going. All right, so the entry for the short is going to be at 1.2010. And the stop loss for the short will be at 1.2129. $1.2129. So that's the short, and we'll put that in the market. Obviously as a pending order. There's the stop loss. Yeah, I'd like it to be a little bit above there, but we're not filtering these in any way, shape, or yes, pound US dollar, Helen. We're not filtering these in any way, shape, or form. We're simply using the formula. If I'm filtering this, then I'm going to put my stop loss maybe a little bit further above here. That's for sure. But that is not what we're doing. We're trialing the system as per the beta system, I guess. Right, so let's place the long. And the long is exactly the reverse of the short. So we're talking buy stop, entry level, and I've forgotten. It is at 1.2129. And the stop loss on that is at, show me, reveal yourself, 1.2010. So exactly the reverse of the short. And away we go. So there we go. Really, we've got a range break here, haven't we? The break of the range through US session and Asia session. That's pretty much what we're doing here at the end of the day.
Yeah, I like that, mate, and that kind of explanation makes complete sense as well, because you are effectively trading the two ranges, and you know, if one's positive and one's negative, then you're trying to sort of like grab onto the sentiment from the day, aren't you? Really?
Oh, pretty much. You know, the only. Hello, darling. The only issue I have with that is that we're in a market that is, I think you use the word tenuous, and I'll use the word nervous, and fearful and frightened and panicking and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And that can tend to react very, very violently on anything that comes out of anybody's mouth, basically.
Yeah.
So if there's a poly that steps up and says, all right, we're going to release a relief package in the next 2 hours, then the market will move. And then they release the relief package, and it's nowhere near what was expected. Yeah, all of those sorts of scenarios. It really is an interesting thing.
Yeah, and absolutely, and I suppose that's the thing is as well, or the other aspect of it is that we don't even know whether they make a difference. You know, whether the relief packages are making any kind of difference whatsoever. You know, it's they because of the situation we have, I suppose. You know, it's a health issue rather than a financial issue, and packages may not do anything.
Yeah, look, we spoke about this weeks ago, and we flagged the difference between now and, let's say, the global financial crisis. It's a completely different scenario.
Yeah.
And, you know, the economies that are poised to tumble are not just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's the whole world.
Yes.
Unbelievable. I've never seen this before. This is just so new. And that's why it's very, very difficult to say, okay, this will end on April 15th or whatever the case may be, or where there is a historic level, if you like. But that's my game, and that's what I'm planning on trading. And I may get it wrong, but if you follow the system that you've just described, which is look for the higher lows if you're going long, look for the lower highs if you're going short, I think that's the secure way to do it, rather than say, okay, we've got a bullish engulfing bar here, let's go long.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wait for the confirmation, and when you get the confirmation, then go in, but go in light, because if it does reverse, you're going to get a truckload of opportunities to get into that. So don't think you've got to be the first person to use Julian's favorite catch cry. Don't be the first one to buy this.
Yes. Yeah.
Wait. Be patient.
Yeah, I agree with that, mate. And I suppose that's the thing with all of it. Actually, the quandary that people have got is, what are they using for their signal to enter? You know, especially if they're counter. It's a difficult market if you're trading on short-term timeframes, really short-term timeframes. As hairy as it is, they have so far proved to be very, very successful entries to this point. And I suppose you trade that until they stop being successful. But it has been, you know, pretty much 15-minute reversal bars, and you're in, you know, on the levels, and you're in. Which we've actually got one right now on the FTSE 100. But if you're looking for a longer term view on this, then it's pretty tricky actually to try and ascertain anything, because it's not going to levels. It hasn't rallied enough to give you a long term short signal, and the long signals are there, but they are bottoming patterns, which is against the trending grain, which is why I think that there's a little bit of struggling going on with this market. But as I say, if you're willing to go to 15-minute charts and literally just trade the hourly resistance points, then there has been a lot of there's been a lot of setups and a lot of trades. And there's one, as I say, right now, which I'll quickly show you if you like.
Yeah, mate, go ahead. Love your comment, Helen. Love to place that order, but I think that's cute. What's your what's the what's your reason? Didn't even stop. Perhaps you do.
I'm gonna have a look on YouTube as well. I haven't got my chat room open.
As I said before, there's no filters on this trade. It's not a logic thing. It's just a set of numbers. At the end of the day, we're trading a breakout, nothing more.
Yeah. So this is the entry again on the 15-minute chart. We look at this on the FTSE, and look, you got another bar which suggests that you put in a sell stop under the bar with a stop at the high of the bar, then it's 100 pips. But these have been working out. These are pretty much every time. And when I say it's, you're not just looking at the bar. Every time it's hit an hourly level, if we kind of go up to these. And have a look at these. So market came down, it's come up. So this becomes your kind of hourly level here. That's where kind of price structure starts to become really prevalent. And on this occasion, there was enough of a rally to give you this hourly bar, which dragged you back down again. This one was difficult because it was over a weekend. So we do actually see a bit of a collapse there, but many times on the way down, there have been, I suppose even here, I mean, I'm actually looking at some of the hourly signals. This was the high point as price came back there. There was a little signal there which you could have traded, but that's another signal there which actually started a really significant trend to the downside. But these ones, I think these have been really hard to get. These long-term trends have been hard to get. We haven't really had one for a week, and it is because it seems indicative of a market which is attempting to bottom out down here, which is why I'm struggling, actually, mate. I'm struggling to kind of continue short. I am long, as you know, and I've just protected the trade for the long by putting a hedge in the market. But I might take that hedge off if this manages to hold down at this particular point. So with a hedge, I'm just making sure that that if the market is to reverse here, that I'm not long for no reason. But it does continue to hold in these areas, so it doesn't seem too bad right now.
Chandra is telling us the S&P and the Dow have been suspended again.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. More problems, mate. More issues out there with the short sellers being cut off because of just too much activity to the downside.
There's a question for you, mate. Why would you hold a long on the FTSE?
Because I'm looking at this as this is bottoming out down here. I'm just it's not it's huge speculation, obviously. But I have just got an opinion that that it's going to bottom out down here. If I bring in some of the longer term aspects of this, which is really what I'm looking at, then look at the monthly chart down here. Monthly chart has hit this low level now. This is pretty much where we sprung from before. There's maybe another point here we sprung from. So there's a structural point here. So it does suggest that if there's going to be a bounce, then this is a fairly good area to try and get a bounce from. Looking at this on a weekly, we don't have the weekly bar formed yet, but this may turn into a hammer down here, and I want to be on board with that hammer nice and early. And the other aspect of this is that the Fed are due out today, and there's just everything's been thrown at the market, and I guess that's the other thing that I find quite attractive here. There's enough kind of motivation to make sure this gets held up, particularly by Donald Trump. Donald Trump, the last thing he wants is a market which is tanking in his presidential year. So I think there's quite a lot of motivation down here. I think we are just
Especially given
literally
he's taken credit for it going bonkers whilst he's been there. Yes.
exactly, yeah, exactly, yes, and he really did, didn't he? You know, he was very very pleased with himself when the market was flying to the upside, and quite happy, as
See
you
what I can
say.
do.
Yeah, 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 and now he's looking like the worst potential president. You know, and this is the thing. This particular incident may end up making Donald Trump look like an absolute superhero, because if he can get the markets back
If you can
to,
get through it, yeah.
if he can get through it by the end of the year, by the time the presidential race comes up, he's going to be unstoppable.
We beat coronavirus. You know, we're
Yeah,
the best. We're champions. We're
yeah,
the world's
yeah.
best. Yep, absolutely. You can hear
It's
it now,
very,
can't you?
oh, completely. Yeah, yeah. And it is down to them ultimately. You know, if America get through, then the rest of us will get through by default, really. So I would suspect that it will be down to
So if
Donald Trump.
America doesn't sneeze, we don't catch a cold, Ash. Is that what we're saying?
Exactly, mate. Exactly. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. Don't get me wrong. Um, I mean, I don't think it's bottomed out, StarMax. That's not really what I'm saying. I'm not really saying it's bottomed out because I don't believe it has. All I'm saying is from this point, we may get some relief. You know, we are so far down, but when we look at these charts that are created here, let's have a look at this one.
Look, logic is telling me, and you know, logic and markets don't often, or don't always marry, but logic is telling me that until you've got the major issues, and at the moment that's coronavirus, until you've got those either solved or the huge promise of them to be solved, in other words, a vaccine or
Yeah,
the reversal of infections, right? Or
yeah,
contraction, whatever that word is that I'm looking for. Until that stops, you can't really expect this carnage to stop. I don't believe it.
yeah,
Logically, I think, well, there's a reason why it's happening.
yeah.
And that until that reason changes, whether that be any of the above, I suppose, I think we've got to maintain the same momentum.
Yes, I completely agree. And really, when it comes down to it, the question for any investors is how will I get my return and when will my money come back? That's that, you know, they're not going to put their money into a market which is not going to give them a return. So,
I think there'd be
oh,
a
WCI.
lot of cash going into bank accounts at the moment.
Oh, undoubtedly. Yeah,
They're
undoubtedly.
getting
Yeah,
out of
we are.
gold. They're getting out of oil. They're getting out of stocks. You know, where's it
Yeah,
going?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely right, mate. I totally agree with that as well. Yeah, oil got another tanking, $26 $49 a barrel right now, which is just astonishing. You know, some of these numbers are just completely, you know, they're
Yeah, I
ugly,
was
but
speaking to a dude. Well, not speaking to. I was listening to a dude that's heavily into oil in terms of following it. He's saying 19. Wow.
well, I have to say, Starmax, I'm not quite sure what you're seeing to suggest it's bottoming out, but I have to say my indicators are suggesting still that there's something to go here. I'm not getting a signal. I'm getting no signals that this is bottoming out down here. So not
Chandra,
necessarily that.
I'm seeing what you're seeing, and I'd be willing to trade a retracement here. And I think that's exactly what we're talking about. We're not
Yeah,
saying that these are going to reverse, but they are going to bounce off these levels. Whether they go through them and then bounce is another question. If that happens, I'm more than happy. That works for me. I think we're talking, and what you're probably suggesting is now is time for a little bit of a bounce, and I agree with you, but not
yeah.
necessarily
This is.
reversal.
Let's have a look. So this is WCI. This is what we're talking about here, is it? Um, Yeah, see the problem for WCI is it keeps pumping through levels. What I'd want to see with anything is at least a double bottom and then see, you know, how much momentum
You'll see one on the monthly chart, mate. I think that's where.
Oh, okay. All right,
Chandra.
let's have a look. Let's have a look at that then. Okay. Okay, yeah, yeah, I do see that. Yeah. I do see that. Do you know my fear on this? My fear would be that we're actually looking at this, which brings us down to 20, about 2021, maybe 2050. I think there's a chance we could get to that. Let's just have a quick look.
That's what I've been talking about.
Yeah, look at that.
I want these levels to go. I want them to fail.
Yes.
And then prove to be false breaks. That's my favorite play, and I think that's
right. Yeah, get that, mate. Get that totally. It could come a little bit low. That, you know, that's not. I'm not saying that it will get to that point, but it could get to that point and still hold some kind of trend line structure. And it looks like there might even be a little bit of a channel kind of up here. There's only 2 touches, but you know, you could make that argument, I think, at that particular point there. So I'm being a bit cautious with that one. I think it's difficult. It doesn't look right like today that there is a much of a rally that is likely. We've only got one. How many stocks in positive territory here? BT actually doing pretty well. BT are 8% higher, which quite interested in BP yesterday, but and I will look at those later on. Just looking across the board, just to see what the state of the FTSE 100 is right now. Hold on, I'm not looking at the right view there.
You don't mean take over, mate? You good?
No, I was just looking at the wrong table. There we go. Okay, so I mean, it's just really an update on what's doing okay and what's not. And Carnival now 14% lower. So we were looking at 0 before. Now it's 14% lower. BT doing okay. Ocado yet again surging to the upside, 3% higher. Antofagasta and Admiral. So now only 4 stocks in positive territory on the FTSE 100. All other stocks are now in negative territory, and the financials aren't doing particularly well. So it's not indicative right now. Signs and signals are for another down day today so far, or certainly a down session. Fed today, isn't it, Jeff? Am I right in saying that?
Overnight, yes, I think so, yes.
Okay, so we got Fed today. I wonder whether that might just halt things a little bit. It doesn't seem at this stage.
What are they going to do, Ash?
Maybe nothing now. Maybe there's nothing nothing left for them to do. It's not announced, actually. Did they cancel that because of the fact that we've already had?
It's gone off my screen.
I wonder whether we have a Fed announcement, because it's not showing anymore.
According to Forex Factory.
We had. Oh, did we? Well, we certainly had an update from Trump and the gang. So that, you know, his motley crew.
The Fed was scheduled.
Not from the Fed, no.
Okay, interesting. This was all about this commercial paper thing. Yeah. Maybe it was a dual announcement about this commercial paper, which I you know, that's too deep for me. I'm sorry, it's just too deep.
What's the commercial paper?
Oh yeah, that's what I mean.
Right, I didn't hear about
that. Yeah, I've only seen the headline. I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, yesterday we had Donald Trump anyway, and he promised billions, and there was a few significant things he said actually yesterday that it was going to happen now. That was quite a big statement, I thought, from his team, that they've been asked not to wait, and they've been basically saying that they've got to get the stimulus to people right now, and there's a variety of packages, but they are still only offers, which, you know, the reason the market is still struggling today is either they didn't like the package, or at this stage they're only offers until the actual offers become reality. Then it's not buying into it. Possible, don't know. And the UK government also announced some stimulus packages yesterday to help and aid business. along the way to navigate themselves through these troubled waters as well. So we're having almost some convergence between the two those two economies. But I suppose the issue is, unless every single country says, right, this is the way we're tackling this, then coronavirus could live in another country, pretty much unprotected, and then start to spread again. I think if every single country went, right, we are going into lockdown, we are literally locking down, and we're going to lock down for the next month, no movement between countries, and it's just going to be essentials. There's going to be food drops and everything else. Then I think they could probably get through it fairly quickly.
I don't think we're that far away from that. From the way the Aussies are talking, we're kind of thinking that way.
Yeah, well, it's just the agreement between all governments doesn't seem to be coming through.
Well, I think
it?
it's the enormity of the situation.
Yeah.
Gee whiz, have we really got the kahunas to do this? I think that's where they're at.
Yes. Yeah.
But what other answers do they have? I mean, the economy's going to hell in a handbasket no matter what they do, I believe. So they might as well get the pain as it's like going and getting a flu injection or something, or the dentist. That's a perfect example. You know that you're going to be in pain if you don't go to the dentist, but who wants to go to the dentist, right?
Yeah.
This is the analogy that I'm going to, I think I'll use this. I'll send it to the Prime Minister. And I think that's probably a reasonable way to go. You get it over and done with. Shut the bloody borders down.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you're absolutely right, mate. And I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? You sort of, and I quite like that the flu analogy or the dentist analogy, because the thing is, it's going to get worse. From what we're seeing now, it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. But
if we do nothing, yes.
If we do nothing, yeah. Well, at least if you go out and have that operation or have that tooth out, then we might just about get away with the pain being sufficiently diminished. I suppose the numbers are so enormous that the amount of people that are likely to get it and potentially die from it are so enormous that that is what's scaring people. But I know over 70s over here that have been asked to quarantine themselves, and they're basically saying, I'm going to go out and say to people I'm 69, and it's like, well, that's not
not responsible.
No, we're all trying to sort of we've all got to kind of do this together, and if we don't act responsibly, as you put it, then it's going to take a long time, and potentially we'll never get through it. So we've got to do what's necessary, and if it's necessary to quarantine yourself, then just quarantine yourself.
Do it, buddy. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but everybody's obviously kind of concerned with jobs and the economy, and I guess that's another reason that they're adding the stimulus package.
And who can blame them? I mean, it's a terrifying thought. There's that many people now are going to be out of work.
Yeah.
One way or one form or the other. Whether it's redundancy, whether it's sorry, we just can't pay you, etc., etc.
Yeah.
If this is protracted and goes on for months and months, that is just horrendous.
Yeah.
That's going to cause, and it's so hard to talk about this the way you feel versus, okay, I don't want to panic anybody, etc., etc. But the reality is, if they're shutting down industry, they're shutting down. In Australia now, you can't have an indoor event of more than 100 people. You can't have an outdoor event of more than 500 people.
Yeah.
That just closes just about everything down at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And, how can a restaurant remain open? How can a pub remain open? So all of those businesses who are the backbone of the country and employ all these people, what the hell,
Yeah.
That's a bloody serious situation.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I guess this is what I mean about that, unless there is a worldwide agreement on how it's going to be done. And I was going to say the way that China have managed to handle it, I think did they get one fresh case overnight?
I don't know, mate.
And they basically shut, they shut a whole city down, didn't they? So if they've done it within 2 months, surely there's enough information and enough of a lesson out there to suggest that that has to be the way to go, or that's a pretty sensible way to go. It doesn't seem that confusing to me if the blueprint is out there, what needs to be done and what should be followed.
Yep. Crystal, Austria, no gatherings more than 5 people. Wow. Yep. And that's what we're saying.
Wow,
this is
yeah,
not going
yeah.
away anytime soon. So why are the charts going to reverse? They're not. You'll get some buying where they're falling, but then it's not sustainable until we get an answer to this, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
Mate, I better look at some currencies, mate. Shortly.
Yes, I've just had a question about the euro dollar. So let's have a quick look at that.
Okay, with me?
Yeah, let's have a look. I mean, I can have a quick scan and then I will pass to you. So this is the euro dollar. Let's have a quick
we put you guys into a short yesterday. That's still in play on the euro.
And it looks like it's got some room to travel as well. I wouldn't be too. Now it's through this level. That was a fairly decent horizontal level. So we're through this horizontal level here, and that looks like a pretty good line. Coming down a little bit further, maybe even get down to these lows down here. So yeah, still short for me on euro dollar. Doesn't look to me like that's coming back too soon. If you're looking for a short-term trade, then you really flip into your hourly chart and seeing whether you can get back into this area here. So somewhere sort of around. I mean, it's failed there once already, but maybe even back to the highs. This is the best level I would have thought 1.1065. Still seems to be a lack of dollars out there, so the dollar might still continue to strengthen here. So yeah, I'd still be quite interested in a short euro. But let's have a look for you, Jeff. That is your weapon of choice.
Okay, well, as I said, we got into this yesterday, and I'm playing this pretty well. Again, I've got an issue. Come here. I'm sure it's not me. I'm sure it's this bloody thing. The control panel's gone again.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
It floats back every now and then, but it's not there right now. Come on.
And this is the thing, you see. Zoom as a company has been absolutely flying on the stock market, but I still think it's a bit clunky in areas.
It is. It's not consistent. It doesn't do the same thing every time.
No, so business and the way that we do business is going to change, but the technology still isn't quite ready. And there needs to be a fair bit of work doing on the technology and software before we're absolutely in the right place, I think, for stopping flights.
Yeah. Okay. You should have my screen by now.
We do.
Yesterday we took this incredibly unusual trade, but I did explain it to you guys at the time. It was all about a false break, and it was a false break. Pardon me. It was a false break of this major level, which is why I took it in the first place. And we've spoken about this for yonks and yonks and yonks. You remember, guys, if you were in the long with me and we put the long in here and got a truckload of pips out of it, and I expected to get out here, I expected to get out here, I expected to get out here, and it just didn't happen. It just kept going and going and going. But like skyrockets, like any form of thing that goes up, it has to come down. And this level here has been so strong for so long, this descending channel, that in my mind, this had to come back here, had to. And I missed the entry, and I was so peeved about that. But I'm now back in it. and we got back in it yesterday on this bar here. And this is what, pardon me, this is my bread and butter, basically. If I see a false break that looks like that, although this is a massive false break, I've got to say, it's a clear false break. If you zoom out just a little bit, once you get back inside a range or a structure or whatever the case may be, and it becomes retested, that's just an automatic for me. Okay, this breakout, as big as it was, has now just been disproven if we go back beyond that rally. And that's the whole point of the trade. So we came back inside the range or the structure, whatever you want to call it. We then tried to go back and we failed. If you've got big kahunas, you can actually trade that from here. But if you've got a conservative nature, you trade it from
I was going to say small kahunas.
Thanks for that. I walked straight into that, didn't I? No, I'm not going. I'm not going. So this is an automatic thing for me, right? And that's exactly what I'm looking for on every single currency pair right now. I'm looking for the big levels to break and then price to come back underneath them if it's a resistance level, or back above them if it's a support level. So that is exactly what I'm looking for. And that's why I've just kept telling you guys, these big levels are where I'm wanting to play right now. I'm going to have to be very, very patient, and I'm going to miss a whole stack load of pips. But once they tell me that they're serious, then that's when I want to get in the market. So I want to be in the phase 2, if you like. So we got in yesterday on the phase 2. I, being a very conservative chap, have now just taken the profit. So what I've done is taken the profit that we made here, entry here, taken the profit here at an obvious level, and then moved my stops to entry. So my stops are here, just above the daily pivot. I've banked money already. If this continues, then I'll just let it go, because I've got nothing on the table right now. There's no risk. And if it goes to hell in the handbasket, which is not beyond the realms of possibility, because guess what? If the top of this range works, or descending channel, then probably the bottom will work as well. So if we're really fortunate, this will break through here and go to the bottom, in which case we'll make a truckload of money for no risk at all. Now, it could, of course, bounce and go off the monthly pivot and head that way, and that's fine, because we're now safe in the market. Who cares? We put money in the bank. And that's the way I'm trading this market. That's exactly the way I'm trading this market. Major levels, false breaks, trade them. So euro dollar, that's my analysis. For somebody asked that question, it was Chandru. That's the answer. Is there a double bottom here on the monthly pivot? Hell yes. Do I expect it to bounce? Hell yes. Already has. So it'll probably have another little attempt at breaking this. If it's successful, then away we go. If it's not, then okay, we're probably back here. Then I'll look for probably another low. Another lower high. We'll see. But that's my analysis on euro dollar at the moment. You'll notice, guys, that I've got a structure built on every single chart. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the big picture thing. And the big picture here on dollar yen is, oh shit, what do you do next? We've got a massive doji sitting here. The market doesn't know what to do with this pair. And we've got very, very strong signals that we don't want to go below the 102.50 handle. That's what it's telling me at the moment. But until we break out of this structure, let me get rid of that. It's a little bit confusing. That's not what I want to get rid of. It won't go away. Anyway, until we get to the bottom or the top of this structure, I'm guessing. It's just guesswork which way this goes next. So I can't trade that. Cable, we haven't been taken into the trade. If I'm analyzing this as a technical person, then all I see right now is this, a massive base. And I'm on a monthly chart, so it doesn't get much stronger than that, frankly. in terms of a potential bounce point. And as I've said throughout the show, do I expect this to reverse? Don't know. Do I expect it to bounce? Yes. Now, my key thing is not to, as I said before, and I love the expression that Julian uses all the time, don't be the first person to buy this. You don't want to be just guessing here that this is going long. You want to look at if it does bounce here, and I'm on a monthly chart, don't forget. Let's go to something a little bit more meaningful, if you like, or more tradable for most of us. You're looking for a bounce here and then a higher low. So get up, come back. What that's telling you is that once we've rallied here and price fails to go back to that level, there's only one thing that's going to happen next. The buyers will come back in and take it to a resistance level. So that's exactly what we're looking for. My favorite play is to let this break. Let the level break, then get back above it, then give us the higher low. AKA, or exactly the same as we've just traded on the euro, right? Let it come back, let it retest the level, give you the higher low, sorry, lower high in this case, and away you go. So that's exactly the same. So nothing's ever going to change with me. When we've got these major structures in place, we're testing these major levels. Wait for the bounce, wait for the higher low, then trade it. Wait for the break, wait for the higher, wait for it to come back inside, give you the higher low, and away you go. Aussie dollar. Been a bear for the longest time, and unfortunately got out of the Aussie pairs way too early. And that was a fault of trailing stop too tightly. I was in Aussie Swissy, I was in Aussie yen. I wasn't in Aussie dollar, but I was in both of those, Aussie Swissy and Aussie. It made good money, but yeah, gee whiz, I could have negotiated a far better deal, I believe. So Aussie's in the same boat, right? Major structure here. Hasn't been to or below 60 cents for the longest time. It's now poked through that level. So am I looking for a bounce now? Hell yes, absolutely. So as soon as I see a buy come in and a higher low, away we go. Doesn't matter what time frame, that's what I'll be looking for. But again, I'll be getting safe in the market as quickly as I can, just in case, well, not even just in case, because I expect this momentum to continue. I can't see why it will stop. But if it does stop, happy days, away we go. And that's why I want to get safe as quickly as I possibly can. Dollar CAD's exactly the same. It's very, very, very difficult to be bullish the CAD at the moment because of the oil situation. And that's why we're seeing dollar CAD just go through the roof, and anything else trading against the CAD at the moment has got to be a positive. But at the end of the day, you'll probably, this may be a coincidence in that one will coincide with the other. Oil may find a very, very strong support level at the same time that dollar CAD finds a very, very strong resistance level, maybe around here somewhere. That's the time where you need to be paying attention. Bounce off the top, lower high, bang. That's what I'll be looking for. Dollar Swissy has already come back, and that's really interesting at the end of the day, given what we've seen out of dollars, out of the US this week. But take a look at exactly what I've just been saying. Strong level here, hasn't been here since December of 2017. It's been support long term in the past. And guess what's just happened? We've just bounced off that level. On the smaller time frames, you may well have had a chance to get into that. We come off the bottom. Guess what we found? A higher low. Surprise, surprise. Oh shit, there's another one. Isn't that amazing how that works? So that's what you're looking for. Let it bounce, even let it go through the level, then come back, give you the higher low. That's where you want to be trading, in this area here and in this area here. Have I got a trade at the moment? No. Look, in Ashes and I, what do they call the 2-minute brief? Today I put Aussie Kiwi as a buy. Let's see how that's going. Aussie Kiwi as a buy. It's here somewhere. There we go. I entered the market here on Aussie Kiwi as a break of this resistance level. I've taken profit here, and that looks as though it might be okay. If this gets back up into here, I've made a truckload of money and very happy with that. I may even move my stops very, very shortly, but I have already taken profit in that, and I'm at no risk in the trade. These are available day in, day out on the 2-minute brief. And Ash, how do we get into the 2-minute brief if we want to?
Oh, yeah, let me post that in for you.
In this show, I only do the majors, guys. I don't do the minors. So you'll never find these trades in the minors. Sorry, in this show. I only concentrate on the majors. But yesterday there was the major on Euro US dollar, and we picked that one up. Today, I don't have a trade for you at the moment. I don't want to trade the Kiwi long just yet, but gee whiz, I'm standing by on the Kiwi. Such is the news coming out of our New Zealand friends, and has been for some time. They're really bullish, the Kiwi, but of course coronavirus is really giving us a hard time on the commodity currencies. If you have a look at any relative strength on Kiwi, CAD, Aussie against the US dollar, you're going to see them just in tumbletown because of the situation that we're in. Anyway, Ash, that's pretty much my roundup. I don't have any trades, extra trades that we can get into, but the ones that we've got in at the moment are looking okay.
Good stuff, mate. Well, I don't really either, except to say the FTSE 100 is holding firm pretty well right now. We've got the Dow, the S&P, and the Nasdaq looks like trading has halted with those guys, as Starmax said earlier on, and the Dow is just shy of the 20,000 mark as well. So we might even get through. We did pop through the below 20,000 yesterday, and it's possible that we pop back through again before the close of the session. So being got to be very, very careful at these levels. FTSE hasn't really gone anywhere. It hasn't really rocketed up, and it hasn't really tanked down. So the indication is still for lower, but at this stage, it's just about holding firm. So let's see how this develops throughout the day.
One thing I did want to say, mate, before we go, never seen a better tweezer bottom I'll call it out of context, than I'm seeing on gold right now. It is out of context because it's not at the bottom of a trend. But gee whiz, it's strong. That's a very strong.
Which time frame are you looking at, buddy? Oh, yes,
that's a daily.
Daily. Yeah. It looks pretty good, doesn't it?
It does. It does. I'm not a gold trader, guys, so I'm really speaking out of school here. But as far as the chart pattern is concerned, wow. If we're down here, I'd be jumping on it. Don't care what it is, I'd be jumping on it. But it's not. It is at the bottom of a sell-off, but it's pretty strong. Pretty strong.
You got to trade, trade safe, guys. But be really, really cautious in these markets because they really are just unbelievably tumultuous. You will very unlikely ever experience or live through markets like this again.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely, this is groundbreaking stuff.
Yeah, it really is. So be very, very careful. And you know what? It's probably just as useful for you not to trade if you can. Sit back and watch the market, pick some entries, maybe trade on demo accounts. And I don't usually encourage people to trade demo accounts because there's no emotion in there. But maybe even trade on some demo accounts just to kind of get the feel of the market. And I would you have to trade really to kind of like get your feel in. But demo accounts will be a really good way to do it because you don't really want any emotion, any emotional equity in these markets right now. They really are a mess, and it's good for education, but not good for making money. Very, very tricky to make money.
I think there's another way also, Ash, to look at it. And Chandra, look, mate, I've got no idea what gold's going to do, mate. No idea. But I see people unloading gold because they need liquid. They need some cash to do something.
Yes.
They want to get out of everything because they can see everything going to hell in a handbasket.
That's
So
right.
it wouldn't surprise me if it does continue to drop. Yeah, don't have a problem with that. But all I'm going by is that tweezer bottom sitting there. That it is out of context. I've got it all slightly out of context. If it was at the bottom of a trend, as I said, like that one is, right, I'd be buying that for sure. That's at the bottom of it's a retracement, but it's more of a trend. This is an emotive move that we really don't know what's going to happen next. So anything could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where I was going somewhere else before. The pound again for the hedge trade that you just advised. Let's have a look at it. Right. This, and it looks like it's been triggered or not. Very, very close. Very, very quickly, because I do have to go. But all we're doing here is we're trying to isolate the last 3 bars of the pre-London session, and we're trying to trade a breakout of that range. That is all we're trying to achieve here. Nothing more, nothing less. So what we're saying is, if price breaks that range, it will continue in the direction it breaks the range. That's what we're counting on. If we're wrong, we're wrong. And there are no other filters at this point. So all we're doing is we're placing a long above the high of the range of the last 3 bars, 1 hour bars before London session. So that one, and that one were the last 3 bars before London open. Put an entry 15 pips above the high, and we put an entry 10 pips below the low. Whichever one is triggered, if it's the long, we cancel the short. If it's the short, we cancel the long. And then when we are triggered, which it looks like we're about to be triggered, we then go to the 15-minute chart and we trail 2 bars. So yesterday, here's what happened yesterday, right? Let me pick the candles. The range was, from memory, these 3 bars, this one, and this one. So we put an entry 10 pips below the low of this candle, and our stop loss 15 pips above the high of that candle. We got triggered short, so we canceled the long. And then we went to a 15-minute chart. Let me just mark that so I know where I'm at. So we got triggered there. Then we switched to a 15-minute chart, and then we trail 2 bars. So every time we get 2 selling bars in a row, 1, 2, we move our stop to the high of the first of those 2 bars. Then we got another 2, 1, 2 here, move our stop to here, above the high of the first of the 2 bars. Then we got another 2, move our stop to here. Then we got another 2, move our stop to here. Then we got another 2, move our stop to here. And guess what happened? We got taken out there. And we missed a bit. In fact, we missed a little bit, quite a bit. So that's the trade. That's how we're trading it. So exactly the same will happen here if we're fortunate enough to keep going. If not, and we still get 2 seller bars in this area, we move our stops to the 2 seller bars, above the 2 seller bars. So that's the way it works. Hope that helps.
Yeah, does help, mate. Okay, we better push off. I'm just going to finally mention the stocks which are moving up in the FTSE 100, just so everybody can get a feel of what's going on, because it's pretty poor out there. BT have moved to the upside, and they're 6% higher. BT would be not a bad play in many respects because they provide broadband and people will be staying indoors and using a lot of that kind of stuff. And then the supermarkets kind of, to kind of come in to the second place, probably the outperforming sector right now. Just about every single supermarket is in positive territory as people stockpile food. So those profit lines and earnings for the supermarkets in this particular era is going to be pretty good. So they are an outperformer. And also,
you reckon the preppers aren't sitting out in there on top of their dugouts going, "See, told you."
The who? Sorry,
the preppers.
Who's the preppers?
The doomsday preppers.
Oh, well, I've never heard of that term. Yeah,
Haven't
they will
you?
be. No.
Oh man, that's a
Yeah.
big thing in the States in particular.
Is it
Google doomsday preppers. Yeah, hell yeah.
doomsday preppers? All right.
Mate,
Have a look into those guys.
they'll be sitting
Might cheer me up.
on top of their dugouts with their reconstituted wine in their hands, and they'll be going,
Yeah.
"Look at you, silly bastards!"
Yeah.
Told you.
Do you know? I know quite well, not a few, but I know the odd conspiracy theorist, and they probably would get on quite well with those doomsday preppers.
Look, this is not the end of the world.
No, far from it. I find conspiracy theories quite hard to swallow most of the time. Inevitably, one will be right eventually, and they go, "See."
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I've got a lot of time for them. I've got to say.
Yeah.
I love it. I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's like
almost,
we got
almost Donald Trumpish. He's my most entertaining point of television and radio and everything.
Oh yes,
I just dig it, man.
Yeah, we got a guy called David Icke. He was a very famous sports commentator, and he got into conspiracy theories, and he's very convincing, very, very convincing. But it was the moment that he said that the royal family actually evolved from lizards that I sort of switched off.
It's all good.
I was like, right, unless we all have, there's probably a bit of a disconnect there. Anyway, that's probably us for the day.
Yeah, we were going to be out of here 20 minutes ago almost.
We were. We have too much of a good time, I think. Thanks so much for everybody that's posting and listening in, because actually you guys make our day so much better. It has to be said. Absolutely. So much better to be in here with you guys rather than trying to sift through these markets and be pretty bored on your own. So thanks so much, guys, for all your contributions. And we will speak to you tomorrow. Same trade time, same trade channel.
What time?
5 to 8.
That's a date. Don't be late. See you guys.